So this week it's Out with the Devil and In with the Who. We're going to talk about that, CinemaCon this year, and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 246 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So let's start off with some CinemaCon, which was this week.
CinemaCon.
Yeah, so that was this week, and CinemaCon, for those who don't remember, it's the convention in Vegas for the distributors and the movie theater owners to get together and get pitched stuff that's coming soon and to get them excited about getting movies in and all that, which, of course, it's been real rough for cinemas since COVID.
Yeah.
And
how do we get people back in the theaters?
yeah, and strangely enough, and we'll go ahead and start with that question because that was a big question in this year's CinemaCon. And it seemed like there was a conflict of ideas there because a lot of the studios feel like it's the cinema's fault, and the cinemas think it's Hollywood's fault. So basically what the crux of the argument, and it was starting to get heated in a lot of these panels.
Really?
But the studios are of the mind that cinema owners need to spend more money in their cinemas. They need to be promoting the movies more. They need to upgrade their cinemas, sink some money into updating them, fixing things to make the experience better for the moviegoer. And the cinema owners were like, we'd be glad to do that if we were getting money coming in, but we're not because you guys keep screwing us over. Because it's almost impossible to get new stuff in because you're not releasing like you used to. And you're putting stuff on streaming
immediately.
Early.
Yeah.
Yeah, too early. So you're not giving us enough time to earn money on these movies. And there was a big talk about getting studios to agree to at least a 45-day window where they can start showing movies. At least have a month and a half. Which is 45 days is only
That's
really a
not
month.
bad, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a lot. I would have thought it would be 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were really only asking for 45, and it sounds like they're starting to get that. But yeah, it's crazy how fast movies have been going to streaming to the point where there were simultaneous releases last year, which shocked the heck out of me. Why in the world would you ever do that?
Right.
But they're trying to address issues that definitely there's some issues on both sides, but you don't really come up with good solutions if you're just trying to figure out who to blame for. If it's not my fault, then you're not going to do anything about it, right? Because it's not your fault. The big point about movies being released to streaming way too soon, yeah, I agree with that. 45 days doesn't sound like enough time for me. 90 days is a little bit more reasonable, and yeah, that may mean that there may be like a month or so where the movie isn't making any money at all because it may drop out of theaters if it's not doing well. But at the very least, you get people understanding that if you want to see a movie and you don't want to wait on it, maybe you need to get out to the theater and watch it, but also give the movie a little bit of time cooling down, get people interested in it again. So that when it comes up in streaming, people will be like, oh, yeah, let me go see that.
Get excited, yeah.
But
I guess the only other thing would be not $47 popcorn. I think that might, that could be something on the cinema side.
Well, that's something else that the studios were saying. They're
Did
like,
they?
Yeah, they were saying maybe you need to start dropping your prices on what you're charging. And again, the theater owners were like, we'd be glad to do that if we could get more product in so we can make money in movies. But if you're not going to do that and you're going to be releasing stuff on streaming in 10 to 15 days where we're not making any money at all, then there's no way we can drop prices and stay open.
We need some synergy here.
Yeah, they really do need to work together and figure all this out. I don't think that just one side of this argument is going to be able to fix it on their own. It's going to need to be a team effort. And CinemaCon would have been the time to start building that synergy. But until both sides get off of this kick of trying to figure out who to blame, you're not going to see a solution to it. I would love to see the cinema starting to come back again. I really would, because I love me the cinema experience. And since COVID, I haven't really had a full-blown cinema experience except for a handful of times. With Wicked, I had that experience. With Nosferatu, I had it. So I had that experience in theaters last year enough that it made me really miss it. Getting to see a movie in a theater full of people, it's a glorious experience. It's not an experience you can duplicate at home. And I hope that people can get their stuff figured out, and so that we can have that experience again. But since you brought up Wicked, they did get to see some scenes from the second Wicked movie.
Really?
AKA Ugly Cry, the motion picture.
Oh, yes.
One thing about the musical, and I've seen it 5 times, is the second half is the weaker half, but most musicals, that's the thing. It's like you build up a lot of stuff in the first half, and the second act, you're basically trying to wrap everything up. And so it's why the second act tends to be shorter. But from what I understand, they've built a lot more into the second Wicked movie, that they've expanded on some things and built up on it so that it will be able to stand on its own, which has me excited. And of course, we've talked about how they've got 2 new songs that are not part of the musical. And one of the scenes that they showed at CinemaCon apparently is a scene that is either not the original musical, or it's a scene that's being expanded.
Oh, okay.
Of course, when I saw Wicked Part 1, it pretty much goes lockstep with the musical. There are some things that are expanded, but it's very familiar. And it sounds like the second act, we're going to be going into some new territory.
Okay.
And so I don't figure that the ending is going to change all that much.
Right.
But they are definitely expanding things. And so there'll be surprises, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. But we also got the final trailer for Thunderbolts, which we're going to be seeing in 2 weeks. We got a trailer for, finally a full-blown trailer for Fantastic Four. We finally got to see the Silver Surfer.
Yes.
We finally got to see her, because it's not a he Silver Surfer.
Oh, okay.
And apparently this movie is going to be part of the origin story of one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, the comic universe, which of course is Franklin Richards, young Franklin, the son of Reed and Sue.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's an Omega level mutant, has the ability to manipulate reality. So very powerful character. From what it seems in the trailer, a lot of this movie is going to focus on the fact that Sue is pregnant. And that's going to be a major part of this movie, because we may see some origin, but they're going to go in media res with this. In other words, we're going to have Fantastic Four already. And this seems to be, from what I'm seeing, that this isn't the main Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is another universe where the Fantastic Four are the only superheroes here. And so it really is like a different world. And if the Avengers movies, they're being based off of the Secret Wars comics, where all the multiverses were crammed in together into one big universe. It sounds like that's what they're going to wind up doing, and that's why they felt comfortable giving the Fantastic Four their own universe and not try to make them part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they're going to combine it all together, and they figured we can save ourselves the issues of continuity and things like that by doing it that way, and that saves them some time, so that's a plus. Being that way, that means that they're able to do some stuff with the Fantastic Four. It's very stylized, and you've seen the art.
Yes.
So it's different than what we've seen before.
Very retro futuristic.
Yes. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm even more excited. But with this movie focusing on Sue's pregnancy, and then, of course, you have this Galactus, the Destroyer of Worlds, that makes things more complicated for the Fantastic Four, because you have the beginning of something dovetailing the possible end of the universe. And of course, it's going to be a little bit tougher for Sue to fight in this coming battle, because
to be careful.
she'll be fighting for 2. That dynamic I find interesting as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays up. But again, CinemaCon, the big purpose of that is to get people interested in the movies that are coming out. We got artwork for the new Masters of the Universe live action that's coming out, which I haven't seen any of it. They haven't really released any of it. But from people who were there, they're telling me that if you love the comics and you were like, I love the cartoon, but they'll never be able to do it in live action. Apparently, yes, they can.
Okay.
They said that the scenes that they've seen and the art that they've seen it looks like just the live version of the cartoon.
Really?
They said it's pretty dead on.
Okay. All right.
And even if you had an issue with Jared Leto being Skeletor, apparently you're not going to have that problem when you see him in action. Apparently he is a terrifying Skeletor. I'm down for that. And Sony showed up and showed some artwork for the new Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
We were supposed to get that part 2 a long time ago.
And
But Sony is like, hey guys, don't give up on this yet. We haven't given up on it yet. Of course you haven't. There's a ton of money to be made. But they were indicating, we're working on it, guys. We really are. We also, let me go back to Fantastic Four because I forgot to mention this. They also gave us a release date of July 25th.
oh, okay. So that's
So
pretty
close.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty soon. We're getting Thunderbolts in a couple of weeks.
That's
and so
Christmas in July.
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. But speaking of Marvel, we did finally get our last episode of Daredevil.
Daredevil. Yes. I've read a headline that said this was the best episodes on TV. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have loved this series.
Wow.
How they've developed Daredevil as a character by allowing him to keep the essence of who he was on the Netflix series, which if they had watered it down, it would have been terrible, at least to my mind. And I think to some other people as well, I think they wouldn't have liked it as much. And I think going back to what we said before, the fact that they scrapped the whole production and started over, at least they figured it out. They were like, if we're going to give him Daredevil, let's give him Daredevil. And I was more than happy with what we got out of it. It was wonderful. And I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is probably the greatest villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, he doesn't have superpowers. No, he's not a galaxy-conquering villain. You know, he's a very street-level villain.
He's the person we know. Everyone knows someone like this.
Oh, yeah. I have never had the fear of a character. Even Thanos never scared me like the Kingpin scared me. Thanos could snap me out of existence. Kingpin would just beat the crap out of me and slam my head in a car door. I'd rather get snapped out of existence. Thank you very much. I'm not going into spoilers because I know you haven't seen any of it yet.
Right.
And we will.
I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to watch this show.
Especially if you binge it, it could be a little bit rough. But there are some really great moments in it.
Oh, I believe that.
But again, it's like I said, when they showed episodes 1 and 2, right off the bat, they were like, we're gonna hurt you. We're gonna hurt you. The way they have developed Matt Murdock as a character has been amazing. What they've done with the Kingpin and what they did with Vanessa. Vanessa is a bit of a different character. She's always been a good match for the Kingpin, although they weren't cut from the same cloth, obviously. But as the Netflix series developed, you could see that Vanessa was getting closer. But in this series, now that Kingpin is the mayor and he stepped away from a lot of that, and Vanessa has taken over and been really good at it. She definitely learned some things from her husband. We'll just say that. To paraphrase the Wu-Tang Clan, Vanessa Fisk ain't nothing to fuck with. We'll just say. For sure. She's not like a second-rate Kingpin.
No.
She's not to be messed with. There were some moments where I was like, oh, damn. I was starting to underestimate her. In certain situations, I thought, okay, she's not going to, oh, she freaking did. Okay. There were just moments where I was like, wow. I was just like gobsmacked. I thought the characterization of Vanessa Fisk and how she's developed as a character over the Netflix series and now, of course, in Daredevil Born Again, great stuff. It's of the level, I would say, of the Penguin miniseries. That was,
Okay.
again, another one of those hang on and just be prepared for some misery. That might make an interesting double feature.
I bet.
Penguin and Daredevil. After that, go to a cat cafe
Oh, good.
and work all that out, or go to some
Yes,
therapy.
there's one on Summer Street in Charleston if you
Oh,
need
yes.
to.
Oh, yes. Get counseling or something, work on it. But I've been enjoying it. But even though we've gotten our last episode of Daredevil, and they have started working on season 2, so we're definitely looking forward to that. In the meantime, we've got some Doctor Who.
Yes, we do.
We got our first episode of Doctor Who, which you have seen.
Yes.
What did you think of it?
Oh, of course. I loved it. It's such a good Doctor Who story, and we jumped right in. There wasn't any slow buildup. We're jumping right into the middle of this. We meet our protagonist. We get just the tiniest bit of story of her. We introduce her. We get her name, and then she gets immediately kidnapped by the robots. And I love that we got the Mickey Mouse money, and we're pretty much in the world of Wall-E. And I love the little polish robot. I want one. Polish. And then when they're talking in code and this every ninth word, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, that was clever. And getting to meet the would-be companion and knowing what had to have happened, because when she says, we're going to win and then you're going to take me to the stars, and knowing what's going to happen, what's going to break your heart, Brian.
Yeah.
And because this is the Doctor and this is what happens. But it was such a good Doctor Who story. It was a great way to start off this season, and looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in this season. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I will say, to a degree, I understand why they fridged that character. I wish they hadn't, but I dealt with that better than when they fridged the cat. It's like, okay, that was completely unnecessary. I would just say, you didn't have to fridge the cat. That was just messed up. Okay. But yeah, again, I understand why they fridged the cat, and I understand why they didn't show us the cat before they fridged the cat, because there would have been some complaints for sure. I would have complained, but I thought it was really cool that they went in media res with it, and we got a lot of the timey-wimey type of stuff. It definitely got that feel of the fact that this is a time travel show. And of course, we had heard that this character wants to go home and isn't able to, and of course, we got to see why. That development brought up two things for me. The first thing was, I love this character, Belinda, because she's a no BS kind of person. She will call the Doctor out on his BS. And she did a couple of times. The one thing where he was trying to talk her into traveling, and you said that to that other one, didn't you? And that was rough. And then when she was like, you scanned my DNA and didn't even bother to ask me about this. You're dangerous. One thing I've been hearing about the show is that we're going to start seeing a darker side of the Doctor.
Yeah, we've always heard about it. The oncoming storm. And
yeah, there have been moments where we have seen it in pretty much all the Doctors, except I would say probably not as much in Jodie Whittaker.
Right.
You didn't have that really dark moment with her, but you did see them in all the other Doctors. Peter Capaldi, there were moments when he went real dark.
Oh, yeah. That's what kind of man I am. No mercy. And yeah.
The one scene when Clara dies, and he's with this character that we'd seen before, and they used to be friends. And the Doctor just looks at her and says that it probably would be a good idea if we never see each other again. The universe could be a very small place when I am cross with you. Which then leads into an episode, probably one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever, we'll just say, Hellbound. Probably one of the best timey-wimey episodes, and Peter Capaldi he acted his ass off in that episode. I don't want to say any more than that. I know that you haven't really seen any of the
no.
We need to revisit that.
Yeah, I'll do that sometime.
Yeah, The Husbands of River Song is also an amazing, it was a Christmas episode. It's very emotional.
Oh, yeah.
Our last look at River Song and watching her play off of Peter Capaldi's Doctor was amazing. And there are moments you might wind up crying. I'm not saying that's, but it's a beautiful send-off for that character for sure. But I do have to talk about how that episode ended. And so this will be the point where we're going to say spoilers.
Spoilers, yes.
The Earth torn to pieces and parts of it floating in space.
Mhm.
We saw a piece of the Eiffel Tower. We saw the Statue of Liberty. And we saw a calendar. So we know basically when it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And this is apparently why the Doctor cannot go to Earth at that time, because apparently it's gone, or whatever destroyed the Earth, the TARDIS can't penetrate it. And
Mhm.
he's not able to take Belinda home.
Mhm.
Now, here is my problem, because I do have a problem. That scene should have a hell of a lot of impact to it, but it doesn't. And the reason why it doesn't is because a couple of episodes ago, the entire universe was destroyed and came back.
Mhm.
And this is something we talked about before, but this is one of the problems with Doctor Who, is that there aren't any real stakes in the show anymore.
Mhm.
They destroyed a big chunk of the universe in flux and it didn't come back, but we've not seen any impact to that. We destroyed the entire universe through the power of Sutek, but it's all come back at that point. So that had no consequences. And I've talked about this before, is that since it was indicated that people remembered being dusted and brought back, that I felt like that should be something that continues to come up. I mean, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're still talking about the snap.
Yeah.
And it still has an impact on people.
Yep.
And it's still affecting the story. This should definitely do that. And I said this before, but the Daleks should be 100 times more xenophobic at this point, because they were all destroyed and they've been brought back, and they're not necessarily sure how that happened. Obviously, you take a race like the Daleks and destroy them and bring them back, they're going to be real crazy. And that's going to make them a lot worse. Add fear to xenophobia, and then what do you got? So I feel like if you're going to destroy the entire universe, even if you're bringing the whole thing back, there's got to be some lasting effect to it. So yeah, the entire Earth has been destroyed. There's nothing in my mind that's going to make me think that it ain't coming back. So that scene would have had more impact if things that happened in the world of Doctor Who had maybe a little more consequence to it.
Mhm.
But because I know that it doesn't, I thought that's an interesting visual. I know it's going to be fixed by the end of this season. I'm not really all that worried about it. Not saying that they should never destroy anything, or that I'm upset if they bring the Earth back, by God, I'm going to be upset. Because no, you destroyed it, by God. Keep it destroyed. Like Gallifrey, damn it.
They didn't get out of the cockadoodie car.
That's right.
Mhm.
Exactly. But I do feel like you should have some consequences to your actions. And especially when you have a character with the abilities and the power of the Doctor, because of the fact he's a Time Lord and he has a time and space machine and can affect history. He should have to deal with consequences if he screws something up. And if you're going to destroy the entire universe and bring it back, what possible stakes are there in anything? That is a concern to me, obviously, because it's fun to watch as a show, but you have to have that feeling in any story. There could be something bad that winds up happening, and it could be irreversible. It's like there are consequences. Every good story has that idea of consequences. And we lost that in Doctor Who. Not that I ever felt like watching Doctor Who that he wasn't going to be able, he or she or they weren't going to be able to figure out how to get out of the situation. But for a story to have profluence, you do have to feel like there are consequences for failure. And at this point in the series, in the show, they've taken that away. And it's going to hurt the show until they're able to figure out how to bring that back. There has to be something that happens that there are consequences. And even in the old series, there were things that happened that didn't get reversed. Serious consequences to people's actions, like the death of Adric, for example. That was never retconned. That if you want conflict to mean something, you have to have that feeling that if it doesn't go a certain way, that it's going to be bad and it's not going to be something that you're just going to be able to retcon or time travel or fix or come up with some weird solution. Which, as much as I liked the last season of Doctor Who, how they dealt with Sutekh, I wasn't the biggest fan of, because it seemed like they pulled it out of their backsides, basically. I'm still going to watch Doctor Who, and I'm still going to enjoy it. And one thing I'll definitely say about the season opener is the season openers, for me, tend to be the weakest episodes of Doctor Who. But I thought this was a very strong start. And I'm definitely excited to see where they go with it. And again, I hope that they're able to develop stuff a little bit more. And I think that with the character of Belinda not being enamored with the Doctor, who's willing to call him on his stuff, and she referred to herself as the nurse. And if anybody has ever worked in nursing or knows somebody who has, my mother was a nurse for many years.
Right.
They understand the relationship nurses and doctors have. The nurses are the ones that do a lot of the work.
Yes.
And the doctors are the ones who get most of the credit. And so that'll be an interesting relationship to build. You have this character that has a life of her own, who isn't looking to be an adventurer, who basically told the Doctor, I'm not one of your adventures. That makes it very interesting. That's an interesting dynamic that we haven't seen a lot of in Doctor Who. And I'm hoping that that'll be the jumping point of being able to fix some other issues that I've seen have crept into the show over the last few years. And so I'm excited about this next season. Now, whether they're able to continue this momentum, I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 246. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.